Act 1. The Policemen at the Door. In the world of high-stakes crime, there are heists that are daring, heists that are brilliant, and heists that are so audacious they become the stuff of legend. But none have captured the public's imagination or baffled law enforcement, quite like the one that took place in Boston in the quiet, early hours of March 18, 1990. It was St. Patrick's Day weekend, and the city was alive with celebration. But on a quiet street, housed in a magnificent Venetian-style palace, was the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. This was not a typical museum. It was the intensely personal, priceless collection of a single eccentric art lover, Isabella Stewart Gardner. She had decreed in her will that the collection must be preserved exactly as she left it. For decades, it stood as a perfect, frozen snapshot of her taste. A treasure trove containing works by masters like Rembrandt, Vermeer, Manet, and Degas. The museum's security, however, was notoriously outdated. It relied on motion detectors and 2 night watchmen, who were often young men with minimal training, earning little more than minimum wage. On that fateful night, the 2 guards on duty were 23-year-old Rembrandt, a rock musician who often showed up to work high, and 25-year-old Randy Heist, who was on his first night shift as a permanent guard. At precisely 1:24 a.m., a red buzzer sounded at the security desk. A voice came over the intercom, identifying themselves as Boston police. They claimed they were responding to a disturbance call and needed to be let in. Peering at the security monitor, Rembrandt could see 2 men dressed in what appeared to be genuine police uniforms. Breaking protocol, which forbade opening the doors for anyone, Rembrandt buzzed them in. The 2 policemen entered the lobby. They told Rembrandt that he looked familiar and that they had a warrant for his arrest. They ordered him to step away from the security desk, the only place in the museum with a panic button connected directly to the real police department. Trusting their authority, Rembrandt complied. He was then pressed against a wall, handcuffed, and asked for the whereabouts of the other guard. Randy Heist was brought to the lobby and also quickly subdued. The thieves were professional and calm. They revealed their true identities by telling Rembrandt, "You're not being arrested. This is a robbery." They wrapped duct tape around the guards' hands, feet, and heads, leaving only their noses exposed so they could breathe. The 2 young men were then led down into the museum's dark, winding basement. They were handcuffed to a steam pipe and a workbench, miles away from any help. They would remain there for the next 7 hours. The deception was complete. The only 2 people responsible for protecting a collection worth hundreds of millions of dollars were now neutralized. The thieves had the entire museum to themselves. The greatest art heist in modern history was about to begin. Act 2. The 81-minute shopping spree. With the guards secured in the basement, the 2 thieves were now the masters of a silent palace filled with priceless art. For the next 81 minutes, they moved through the museum with a strange combination of purpose and clumsiness, selecting their targets in a way that continues to baffle experts to this day. They were not just grabbing the most valuable items. They seemed to be following a specific and peculiar shopping list. Their primary target was the Dutch Room, home to some of the world's greatest masterpieces. Here, they committed what many in the art world consider an unforgivable act of barbarism. They took Rembrandt's only known seascape, the magnificent The Storm on the Sea of Galilee, and A Lady and Gentleman in Black, and instead of carefully removing them, they brutally sliced the canvases from their frames with a sharp blade, leaving the jagged edges behind. They also stole a tiny, postage stamp-sized self-portrait etching by Rembrandt, so small it was easily overlooked. But their biggest prize from this room was Johannes Vermeer's The Concert. One of only 34 known Vermeers in the world, it is considered the most valuable unrecovered stolen object in history, worth an estimated $250 million alone. Before leaving the room, they also took a landscape by Govert Flinck, one of Rembrandt's pupils. Curiously, they attempted to remove a large Rembrandt self-portrait from the wall, but seemingly gave up, leaving it behind. Their work was not done. In the short gallery, they stole 5 sketches by the French impressionist Edgar Degas. From the Blue Room, on the first floor, they took Edouard Manet's Chez Tortoni, a masterpiece of modern art. But then, their choices became truly bizarre. They stole an ancient Chinese bronze beaker, or gu, from the Shang dynasty. While valuable, it was an oddity compared to the European masterworks. And in one of their final acts, they stole a bronze eagle finial, the decorative top piece from a Napoleonic-era flagstaff. Why would thieves, in the middle of the biggest art heist in history, risk taking these relatively minor, albeit unique, objects while leaving behind far more valuable pieces? Most baffling of all is what they didn't take. They walked right past Titian's The Rape of Europa, arguably the most valuable painting in the entire museum. They ignored works by Raphael, Botticelli, and Michelangelo. The thieves' strange selection process destroyed the theory that this was a simple robbery for profit. It suggested a different motive entirely. Perhaps the heist was commissioned by a specific, eccentric collector who wanted these particular pieces for a private gallery. After 81 minutes, their work was done. They made 2 separate trips to their car, loading it with 13 priceless works of art. Before they left, they checked on the guards one last time. They asked them if they were comfortable and told them, "You'll be hearing from us in about a year." Then, at 2:45 a.m., they walked out of the museum and vanished into the night, leaving behind a trail of empty frames and a mystery that would only grow deeper with time. Act 3. The Hunt for the Empty Frames. The morning of March 18th arrived, and the next shift of guards found they couldn't get into the museum. When the police were finally called, they discovered a scene of quiet devastation. They found the 2 night watchmen, Rickabath and Randy Heston, still duct-taped and handcuffed in the basement, freezing but unharmed. Upstairs, the true scale of the crime was revealed. On the walls of the Dutch room and other galleries hung the haunting, empty frames of some of the world's most beloved masterpieces. The greatest art heist in history was now public knowledge. The FBI immediately took charge of the investigation. But from the beginning, they were faced with a near-perfect crime. The thieves had been careful. They wore gloves, leaving no fingerprints. Their disguises had obscured their faces. And most critically, they had stolen the security camera tapes from the night of the heist, taking with them the only video evidence of their crime. The investigation was a frustrating search for ghosts. Over the years, numerous theories and suspects have emerged, but the investigation has consistently pointed in one main direction: the Boston criminal underworld. In the 1990s, Boston was a hotbed of organized crime, and the FBI believes the heist was orchestrated by local mobsters. The motive may not have been to sell the art, which would be nearly impossible, but to use it as a get-out-of-jail-free card, a bargaining chip to negotiate lighter sentences for jailed mob members. The list of potential suspects reads like a who's who of Boston's criminal elite. One of the prime suspects was a career criminal named Carmelo Merlino, whose crew was known for its daring robberies. The FBI believes one of his associates, a man named David Turner, was one of the two men who entered the museum. Another key figure was Robert the Cook Guarente, an aging mafioso who, just before his death, allegedly told a fellow criminal that he knew where the paintings were hidden. Guarente's confession led the FBI to the home of another elderly mobster, Robert Gentile. In 2012, they raided his Connecticut home, believing the art was hidden there. They found an empty, secret ditch under a false floor in his barn, but no paintings. Gentile has denied any knowledge of the art's whereabouts, but the FBI remains convinced he is one of the last living links to the stolen masterpieces. Other, more exotic theories have also been floated. One suggests a connection to the Irish Republican Army, or IRA, who might have used the stolen art to finance their operations. Another theory points to a reclusive, eccentric billionaire collector, a real-life Dr. No, who commissioned the theft of these specific pieces for a secret private gallery. This would explain the strange shopping list of items that were taken. But despite a 30-year investigation, thousands of leads, and the promise of a $10 million reward, every trail has gone cold. The suspects are now either dead or in prison for other crimes, and all have maintained a code of silence. The 13 stolen artworks have never been recovered. They were swallowed by the criminal underworld, their whereabouts a secret held tight for 3 decades. Act 4. The Ghost Collection. Today, if you walk through the Dutch room of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, you will see a strange and solemn sight. On the walls where Rembrandt's The Storm on the Sea of Galilee and Vermeer's The Concert once hung, there are now just empty frames. In accordance with Isabella Gardner's will that nothing in the collection be changed, the museum has left these frames as they are, ghostly placeholders for the stolen masterpieces. They serve as a constant, silent memorial to the art that was lost, and a symbol of hope for its eventual return. The Gardner heist has become more than just a crime. It has become a modern legend. It represents the ultimate clash between high culture and the criminal underworld. A story where priceless beauty was swallowed by brute force and greed. For over 30 years, the FBI, art historians, and amateur sleuths have chased down leads, but the thieves and their $500 million prize remain at large. The $10 million reward for information leading to the art's recovery remains active, and the FBI continues to receive tips. The prevailing belief among experts is that the paintings have not been destroyed. They are too famous to be sold on the open market and too valuable to be discarded. It is likely they are hidden away, perhaps in the hands of a private collector, or passed down through criminal families, their existence a closely guarded secret. The fate of the 13 stolen works remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the art world. They are a ghost collection, existing only in photographs and in the memories of those who saw them. The empty frames on the walls of the Gardner Museum wait patiently, a silent promise that one day, these lost treasures might finally come home. What do you think happened to the stolen Gardner artworks? Share your theory in the comments below. And for more of history's most audacious and unsolved crimes, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Dark Cell Stories.